Today on Ship Chasing, what Stephon Diggs means for the Washington Commanders offense. And more importantly, we are going to go through some of our biggest stands across our portfolio right now. And we're going to decide on the ones where we have heavy bags. Are we doubling down or are we maybe ditching due to new information? And inversely, on the players we've been fading, are we going to continue fading them? Or has the drumbeat gotten so loud that we might cave, we might capitulate? I'm Pete, with Jacob, with Pat, with Davis. This is Ship Chasing. Let's do it.
Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar Alpha Play Chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally at this point. You're right.
So this is going to be a really funny experience for everyone. Oh, Davis, you are unmuting. Are you going to go record your video?
I already recorded. I recorded it while the intro is happening.
You recorded a Stephon Diggs in the Commanders video during the intro? You got that all in?
I knew what I was gonna.
That's my goat. That's my goat right
That's
there.
My goat right
that's
there.
unbelievable.
You think that I need time to prepare what I like? Something we've all known is gonna happen
There's not a lot of opportunities to say that was clutch in the fantasy football space, but that was seriously some clutch touting. One take during the intro. You did it.
That is incredible. That is incredible. Well done, Davis. Okay, so yes, we do got to talk about Diggs to the Commanders. I mean, this has been, I don't think this is a shock to anyone. It's been the most logical destination for a long time. It now happens. He's there on a 1-year deal up to $12 million with the Commanders. So I guess to do a little after show ADP chasing, I already saw McNova in the Discord wondering where does Diggs get to? Where is the price you're still buying? Where are you out at if he does get too expensive? What do you guys say?
I think wide receiver 38 is where I'm going to put him. I think I'm going to
numbers, no positional rank.
Fuck off. Like, actually fuck yourself. What is this bullshit?
Numbers, Davis.
That just got me so upset.
You guys need to be inside.
You can tell Davis is trying to transition to redraft. We lost 2 of them, Jacob. There's only 2 best ball brothers.
I was so excited that we got this news right before we get to come on. I drafted 2 Jaden Daniels, Stephon Diggs stacks this morning. I was so excited, and Davis completely ruined my mood by saying wide receiver 38.
Oh, disgusting.
What is that in overall rankings, Davis?
That's like a 7th round pick. It's right ahead. It's right ahead of where Cortland Sutton goes. It's after the quarterback wall. So after that May, Daniels, Hurts, Caleb Williams wall, but ahead of your Chuba Hubbard's, Rico Dowdle's, Jalen Warren's, right about in that range.
I think that's not an insane answer for where he will go. I will not be taking him there. Part of the reason I've been mashing him so aggressively, like to this point, is that I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to like his final price. So I'm like pretty happy to just get over 20% now. Call it a day.
Are we tempted? Are we tempted today to flex our exposures? Like, I have not posted an exposure screenshot
What's everybody's
yet.
Diggs exposure? What's everybody's Diggs exposure?
I don't have a ton
22%.
of Diggs. Yeah, I'm probably underweight. Let me see.
I'm always gonna get mogged in these, but sure, I'll look.
He's my 3rd most drafted player.
He's my He's my 5th most drafted player. Well, I'm going to be optimistic. He's tied for my 4th most drafted player at 22%. Second most drafted receiver.
Yeah, I'm only at 3%. I stopped drafting when he moved up. I just felt like he was in a. I was a little nervous, to be honest, about where Diggs was at, getting cut from the Patriots, and then it's like he was the more expensive version of the Debo bet. So I had my Diggs Debo was heavily split to Debo. I'm at 27% on. Wish I had more now.
284 teams, 16% for.
Oh, Davis
for me. I got mugged.
Did I just Diggs mug you?
Hey, I'm in a lot of slows. I'm in a lot of slows that are about to finish, so I hope that number goes up.
8.5%. A real man's number over here.
Nice.
All right. Well, I guess I win the trophy for.
All right.
Most, Diggs.
Do it all.
My victory lap. No, I think I'm gonna be. I guess I'm surprised, Davis, that you have less than me, but maybe it actually makes more sense. Like if you are willing to click him up the board, maybe it makes more sense to be a little bit more cautious. I thought he was a great price where he was going. For instance, I don't think he should go ahead of Godwin. Like Godwin is younger than him. I think that they're very similar situationally. I would prefer Godwin over him straight up. And I think that that's kind of the most similar bet. And Godwin right now goes mid-8. So I will probably rank him. I'm going to do my ranking update as soon as we get off screen. I'll rank him like right after where I have Godwin probably. And I have Godwin ahead of ADP at 85. I'd put Diggs. No, I'd put him like, yeah, in between that. I have Xavier Worthy at 92. And I would rather have Worthy, I think, also.
Yeah, I would much rather have Worthy.
I'd rather have Diggs than Sutton, and I'd rather have Diggs than Pittman. So
Sutton
that's
is
where I would
horribly
go,
priced though, so that makes him hard to. I don't.
But
think
in my
to
rankings,
me,
I have Sutton like below Worthy. So
to me, Diggs I think moves up into the kind of early 100 range. I mean, you still have Terry McLaurin here.
I think he's gonna fly past these guys.
Well, I don't. I mean, sure, but I don't want any parts of him.
Oh, sorry. You were saying where you'd put him? Yeah, I'd put him right ahead of Pittman, who's a guy I have ranked like at ADP.
Yeah, Pittman.
I think Godwin will be the wall for him ADP. I would be surprised if he jumps Addison and Godwin in ADP.
I think he could jump Addison. I think he could jump Downs. I think he could jump.
Pittman have at 105. I'd be fine with him in kind of that range, but if he's up in the 80s, I mean, Diggs was not in a full-time role last year and won't be the number one on this team, which he was last year on the Patriots. So, you know, you have Chig there as well, who's had a strong camp. So it's like I think he's sort of he's the clear 2 now, right?
I mean, I think some
people will view it as a 1-2. Who's to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think that's wrong. I mean, I think Terry McLaurin is pretty locked in above Diggs.
Yes.
I tend to agree. I think that what we'll see from the pro Diggs people is an argument that they're going to cite as per route stats from last year, which were legitimately great.
I did cite
say
that
now he's going to run
YouTube
600
short.
routes, and he's going to post all the same per route stats as when he ran 65% of the routes. I'm not the one making that argument. I'm being a messenger about arguments that I think we will see. Because Diggs, I think, has the capacity to unite a lot of factors in fantasy football. One is the boomers who love old people. 2 is the nerds who love per route stats. And then 3 are just people who like to bet on good offenses. So I think that there's a lot of things going on. And I think that generally players always like rise more after things that should have already been reasonably priced in as possibilities than we ever think. So like I'm just always going to take the over on us thinking what a reasonable rise would be versus what the market will actually do. But we'll see.
The real question, Jacob, is are you worried about Stephon Diggs stealing away some of those valuable checkdowns to your 43% Rashad White bags?
Well, I mean, I've almost drafted as much JCM as I have White at this point. Like it's actually kind of tilting that the White thing became such a thing because I feel like I know what's going to happen, which is that like JCM is going to outscore Rashad White this year.
Smash,
I will be silently happy about that because I'll have like 18% Corey Krosky merit, but people will be like in my mentions, like being like, "You're getting JCM Mog, dude. Like, I hope you're a miserable loser. I hope you like hate your life and want to kill yourself."
Oh my God.
So
wow,
I'm like getting
what do your
free.
mentions look like?
Well, one of my mentions yesterday said I was like tweeting a joke about multi-tabling while watching the Michigan primary results. And legitimately funny reply, but someone said, if there was a primary for the kingdom of FAGGOT land, you would unanimously take the throne.
You did get troll there for sure. Goodness.
Had to laugh.
Yes. Okay. Any other thoughts on this before we get into cave spades?
I got one thought, which is that it's funny that Karain was not a Diggs drafter because I actually think I learned this lesson from Legendary.
I was early when he was like real cheap. I was pre-draft because I thought I was surprised he got cut by the Patriots. Then I was drafting him early, but when he moved up and there was kind of that split between him and Debo by about 30 to 40 picks at one point. I was kind of doing other stuff in that range.
Well, I was literally about to pay you a compliment, which is that I learned a big lesson from you guys at legendaryupside.com last year about Judkins, which is like, nothing ever happens, dude. Nothing ever happens. Stephon Diggs was just easily going to sign with a team. Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 56 was the best price on the board. I agree. I actually, after listening to you guys talk,
Wide receiver 56.
I think you're I think you guys are probably right that he's actually likely to be mispriced now, that he actually is going to be overdrafted now because the market has the certainty. They're like, I've been drafting Stephon Diggs for the better part of a decade. He's always been good on my fantasy football team. Why would I not draft him over these other guys who I don't feel nearly as confident about? So I think I'll be happy with my, I mean, not that I would say he's unclickable now for sure. I think it'll be more like I'll just vary it. Whereas before, I mean, Corinne, I'm sure you know this feeling very well. You do the slow drafts and you're like, I just clicked Stephon Diggs 8 times in a row. Like, I got to do something else. This is insane.
Yeah, for sure.
I will not be doing that. He won't be like an auto click anymore. Like John Warner, our friend from Badge Bros, sent a tweet the other day that he's like, there are some picks in slow drafts that I don't even look who else is on my team. I just make them. It's like Tootin in the 6th round. Like, I don't remember what he said, but for me, one of them was Diggs. Once I saw the name Jaden Higgins, I just knew when I opened it up that I was going to be taking Diggs.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was earlier in the process. I was like kind of mixing it around because there's a few receivers I like there. Like I do like Shakir. I like Coker, but like at least the last couple weeks, it did feel like, okay, like this Commander signing feels imminent. And I know that in 2 weeks, the choice is not going to be between Stephon Diggs and Khalil Shakir. So like, why don't I just get this over with and just every single time that there's a tie, like just break that tie to Diggs. And then like, what's the worst that can happen? Like he doesn't sign in a couple weeks. I'll just go back to rotating it around and mixing in some Coker. But like, if he does sign, then he's going to go way higher. And I'm good with it. Like I'm not that. I mean, maybe he doesn't raise that much. Then I would absolutely mash him.
He's absolutely going to rise. I mean, I promise you, I bet my bottom dollar on
We're
that.
working on the update now. He's going to come out in the rankings in the early 100s, as I was thinking. So,
okay.
I mean, I think we'll end up
Pittman?
low on him. I think ranking wise, it'll be Pittman. No, it'll be him. Okay. It'll be him once ADP.
We're going to have him ranked in the same spot then, I think.
Yeah.
Well, where do you guys stand on this?
Like, I would prefer him straight up over Sutton, but Sutton's ADP is so much higher.
Sutton's ADP is bad. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I picked Pittman because he's a guy that I have ranked like very close to ADP, so it's like a ranking that matters. My Sutton ranking is immaterial.
Right.
Like I'll also rank him over QJ, but like that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right.
So this tweet just hit the timeline from a recurring character on the show, Nathan Yonke. I think my biggest takeaway here is you should no longer draft Antonio Williams. Okay, ... He does say in redraft leagues. But what do you guys think about Williams right now? He is going to slide. Is he on the menu in 17th, 18th round for you?
I've been treating Antonio Williams the last while like Diggs was already signing, which is to say, like, I do think he's a fine. I moved him way down like a few weeks ago. I think he's a fine 18th round flyer. Like he is still alive to win the slot role. In which case, if he does win the slot role, then isn't
Diggs at his age so much?
I don't think he is live to win the slot role. I think he's pretty dead to win the slot role. I mean, it's possible he does by the end of the year.
You think he's not live to beat out Luke McCaffrey?
Yeah, I don't.
Campaigns?
First of all, I think Diggs is probably out of the slot as much as they can play him in the slot.
McLaurin, Burks, Diggs is their base.
Like I think De'Ami Brown, Traylon Burks, those guys are going to be ahead of Antonio Williams because in 3 wide receiver sets, they'd like to kick Diggs into the slot, I think.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so, yeah, I think Antonio Williams, I mean, it's been pretty quiet on him so far. And then they signed Diggs. Like he had a shot here to be the clear number 2 wide receiver. Them bringing in Diggs, I think, tells you something. He's a 3rd round pick. 3rd round picks do nothing as rookies all the time. And this was like, I mean, I didn't think much of him as a prospect as well. And the one thing he had going is like, he's got a clear runway. If he's better than I think, like we'll see it. We didn't see it. And then they signed Diggs. So I need like a drumbeat now. I need like, no. Antonio Williams is a part of the plan here still. and then I'd come around. But I would not want to touch him even in the 18th, even in the 20th.
Cyrus
it
Allen
makes me nervous.
Cyrus
think
Allen
he's
or
fine
Antonio
in mix.
Williams.
I mean, like, is he that much worse than like the Ravens rookies?
Yeah.
Really?
Lane's having an awesome
Yeah.
camp.
I don't. Yeah,
Lane's getting a ton of buzz.
Lane was also a sick
I think
prospect
I care a
if
lot
you
less
look
about
at a certain
the camp
thing.
stuff than you guys do.
I care a lot.
I care a good amount for the 3rd round picks because those guys like redshirt like a good amount.
But like, of
know?
course, Jacoby Lane looks good in practice. Like that's what he does. He like goes up and makes athletic catches. Like it's like Brian Edwards. Like these guys love looking good in camp.
Sure,
Kayshon
but
Boutte
it's
looks
not
good in
like
camp every year.
It's not like we know what his role is, right? And the Ravens don't know what his role is. So they're going to make assessments on how these guys are doing. That's going to impact playing time because it's Tez Walker, Jacoby Lane, or Elijah Surratt for the wide receiver 3 spot. It looks like that's Lane right now. This is impactful. This is meaningful because it's going to affect playing time. Williams is in the same boat where he's got to earn playing time. It doesn't seem like he's done that. So yeah, I think it matters. I mean, by the end of the season, sure, these guys could change that, but that's where the 3rd round draft capital, the like spotty prospect profiles in some cases, that I don't have a ton of confidence that actually happens.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's get into the meat of today's program, which is
I want to know where people are at on Chig quick before we go back. How far are you moving him down? I still like him, I think.
He's in a pretty dead range of tight ends. Like, I don't really like clicking the guys around him, so probably not moving him down that much. And that range also lost a guy with Kenyon Sadiq moving down in my rankings too. So I'll move him down.
He's in a range. He's in a range of tight ends that I used to like everyone in, but that range is now lost Sadiq. I think that range has lost Gadsden based on reporting.
Yeah.
At least for the time being. So I
he
still
should
like
be part of that
Chig over-
Strange Henry.
Yeah, I still
group.
like him more than Strange and Henry. I think like all those guys are in tough to be the number 2 on their team as well, and I just like this offense more. But I agree that's the range probably the 150s.
Yeah, I like him pretty similar to those guys. I think probably a little bit more as well. But he needs to get kind of down into that tier. Yeah,
he'll drop a little bit.
He will
now.
Part of the reason I'm not really have much hope for Williams is that Chig did seem like the clear number 2 target, and they were impressed with him there. Correct. And so now that you bring in Diggs, I think you are looking at the wide receiver 3 battle being the number 4 target on the team.
Might be 5 behind the running backs. Who they seem
might be 5.
I mean, they seem to throw the backs a lot. I've like White's been getting targets obviously, and JCM's been getting targets in camp. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. What we are going to do today is the 4 of us submitted some of our biggest stands and our biggest fades. And we are going to have kind of a moment of reflection, whether we want to be stubborn, double down on these, continue to fade, or in the case of, some of our more scary fades, do we want to capitulate? Do we want to cave? Or do we want to ditch some of the big stands? So we each submitted these, and I'll get this pulled up here. Shout out to Davis with our Claude slop as usual. But Davis, what do you think? Should I just reveal all on these, or should we go?
By the way, shout out to Claude for not being able to go back and reveal the deal or no deal on So You Think You Can Tell. That was
it's so good. Kitchen mentioned that on the Swolecast yesterday too. Yeah, we will never know whether PPR Tyler made the right decisions. Which, by the way, shout out PPR Tyler. Breaking news today: full-time gig.
Hell yeah!
At RotoWire.
Congrats, man.
PPR Tyler.
I mean, hey, bearing the lead.
Congrats to RotoWire for
congrats to
PPR
David
Tyler.
Kitchen, dude. I mean, just another part of David Kitchen's tree. Because
wow,
if you think about it, PPR Tyler never would have been anything if he didn't discover Peter.
Did you hear about PPR Tyler signing
PPR
bonus?
Tyler can read his contract.
$37.50 in site credits.
Oh my god! Yeah, just Tyler, make sure you are getting paid
Like they
in
could-
U.S. dollars and not site
Not
credits
site
for
credits.
this. Yeah.
Get anything fast. Like the Tolkien thing sent me, man. Like
That was wild.
When Leone pulled out who wrote The Hobbit, I actually was like, Mike, like that's kind of mean to like act as though even PPR Tyler wouldn't know who wrote The Hobbit. Like I was like, that feels like bullying. And then to see that he actually didn't know, I was.
He said he'd read it.
He just said on the randomizer the day before that it was one of the 5 books
Also,
that he could
it's
think
The
of.
Hobbit. Like 4-year-olds know who wrote.
4-year-olds
who wrote The
know. My kid is 8 months old and has already read The Hobbit, dude.
All right. So this first batch that we're going to do here, these are fades that we are going to continue fading. We are not scared here. I think I'm just going to let this rip, Davis, with a reveal all on the fades, and then we can talk about it. And it looks like we have similar fades here at the top. Josh Allen, I'm at 1.9%. Davis, you're at 3.1%. I'll toss it to you to speak for the Josh Allen Fade Club. Tell Liam why we're going to be right here.
It doesn't have that much to do with Josh Allen himself. Like, I agree with like all the criticism that people who have been drafting him are already about to say. I frankly agree with it. He can put up a nuclear score in week 15, 16, or 17. He can easily be the Kyle Pitts of this year. No question about it. However, he is at a position that is harder to separate, right? I mean, even let's say he literally gets 40 in week 17. How much would you bet another quarterback at least gets 30? What would you make? What would you make the odds that one other quarterback at least generates 30? Even money, plus 120, something like that. Like, it's something around there probably. So even with like the highest scoring game of the season at quarterback, he's separating by like at most probably like 12 or 13 points. And the opportunity cost this year, frankly, I feel is enormous because after about round 6, like in my mind, after Jordan Tyson goes, you then get to about 50 skill position guys who are all the same. But where Josh Allen goes, you are skipping very important players, like very high projected players. And instead of taking Marvin Harrison Jr., I can just take Drake May. Like, it's so, to me, I don't even know if you need to do that deep of math. It just feels so straightforward.
I did a big dog that Liam was in, and he was streaming it, so I threw it on, and he, of course, took Josh Allen, and I, of course, took Drake May. You know, we gotta keep the brand strong. But he was comparing the 2v2s, and it was interesting because he's like, look at these 2v2s with Josh Allen, and he was like laying them out, and I was like mine was like Scattaboo and May versus, I forget who he took in the sixth, but it's like, as he's laying him out, I'm like, I couldn't like those 2v2s more without Allen. But he likes them better with Allen. So I think some of it may come down to how you view the drop off in, round 3 and 4 to round 6 and 7. Frankly, you can get Hurts and stuff there, which I agree with you, Davis. I think is a pretty big drop off. Yeah. And then, of course, how much you think the gap between Allen is to the rest of the group. And by group, I mean the other QB1s. And I don't think that gap is massive. I mean, it certainly wasn't last year. I think Allen is a high confidence bet to be one of those guys for sure, and the favorite to be the number one. But I don't know that he's going to like gap the field, which the ADP kind of somewhat insinuates. I mean, I know he's not like crazy expensive.
He's 30 spots ahead of Drake May.
He is crazy expensive, not in relation to his previous ADP.
Right.
He is crazy expensive in relation to the rest of the quarterbacks.
So I other think QB1s, yeah.
The case you have to make if you're, I think, pro Josh Allen and you want to make like a compelling case, I think you have to explain to me why QB 3 through 6 should be priced as low as it is. Like, what is it about like Daniels, May, Burrow that are like not as compelling as the profiles that we used to draft in like round 4 and round 5 when Allen was going in the early 3, in my opinion, because otherwise those guys are just really underpriced relative to Allen, and that's the game. It doesn't really matter that much how underpriced Allen is relative to running backs and wide receivers if Jaden Daniels is significantly more underpriced relative to running backs and wide receivers.
And we know Allen can pay off this price, but we also know that guys like Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Drake May, like those dudes, Joe Burrow, those guys can smash in the 6th and 7th round. Like that is very clear. So, yeah, I know Jack Miller had a thread on the Allen price, and he was pro Allen, comparing him to the QB2s, with the QB2s getting more expensive this year. And so Allen kind of having an advantage relative to the QB2s. You're getting a discount on Allen from his historical price. And then you live less in this like, overpriced QB2 zone was kind of the argument there. But to me, it's not about the QB2s as much as the QB1s. And I'm drafting a lot of, like, I have a lot of Allen or a lot of May, Daniels, Hurts,
Right.
Burrow. Like, I'm in that range.
There's like no
That was,
opportunity
I wrote
cost.
I wrote up that article back in like June, like structural drafting preferences in 2026 best ball drafts, and I put out pretty similar data to what Jack Miller did, with similar findings and beliefs about the QB2s, which is that I think that they are pretty frothy. But yeah, my takeaway on that was, why not draft way more Hurts, May, Daniels, Herbert, like that group to me strikes me as the more interesting group. And I mean, I would argue like you can even just draft two of them. I mean, I've done teams, not every team, but I've done a decent chunk of teams where I go and draft. I did one literally this morning. I drafted Jaden Daniels in the 6th, and then I went back and I drafted Caleb Williams in the 7th. And I think that's like totally fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah, because it's flat there. That's the big thing. Yeah. And I know we disagree about Mahomes, but I think he's a part of that crew, especially from an upside perspective. You can get him. He still falls into the hundreds sometimes. I think Kyler Murray can certainly score like a QB1.
Are pretty underpriced.
Nix and Dart are good. I like Purdy. So
I like Purdy.
There's lots of guys in that before you get, like, if you're taking Allen because Tyler Shuck's overpriced, like, hey man, you had to pass on a lot of other quarterbacks before you got to Shuck. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Let's, some of these that we have on the board here, Davis and I both have Josh Allen.
I'm with you guys on Allen, by the way. I have 0%, and I'll
I'm with
I
you
also
on
like
Allen if
I have
that's
0% of like so many dudes.
I was gonna say, like, Jacob,
someone in the chat
fade mogs us here. Even Rome 0%.
I have 0% of like 30% of the play pool. Like, I just don't take guys.
I'm at 0.2% Allen. This is a true fade for me. I saw you guys had him, so I mixed it up, but I'm with you.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I don't actually get that crazy high on my max exposures. I know the 42% Rashad White bit was like a bit, but I've never intended to finish at 42% Rashad White. Like, my highest exposure player usually comes in around 25. But yeah, I have no problem just zeroing players. I don't understand, like, I'm not saying
4% exposure blanket.
Yeah, like, so I'm not saying I don't have 4% of anyone. But I just like reject the idea that like you should have 3 or 4% of everyone, because the argument that I've seen for Josh Allen that I think is a very not compelling argument for Josh Allen is like, well, what if he gets 40 and you lose? And it's like, well, like, yeah, that is true. It is like also fundamentally true that for like all of the player pool, that if this guy scores a ton of points and you don't have him, you lose. Like that I guess is like the case.
It's not even true though. That's actually not even true.
Okay, but like, if we want to be hyper specific and be like, then you are less likely to win.
You're going to need to score a ton of points, and other people are also going to score a ton of points. Like, if you win BBM, you scored a ton of points. The guy in second scored a ton of points with some different players than you. The guy in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Like, everyone scored a ton of points to get into the top 30. Like, so you had to score points. They had to score points. You're not going to have identical lineups.
It was kind of true with Pitts last year. I mean, like, it wasn't actually. I got to a best ball mini finals on a team that did not have Kyle Pitts. Like, obviously, if you had Kyle Pitts, your odds were way better, but you certainly could advance out of pools without Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. You could advance out of pools without Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, because of McBride. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, my belief is like, first of all, you're probably not going to get to best ball mania finals. If you draft all 150 teams,
fact check,
your odds are still about 1 in 9, 1 in 10 of getting to a best ball mania finals, assuming even advance rates. Let's say you have a lot of confidence in yourself. You think that you're so much better at everything that you're like twice as good as the field. Even you're 3 times as good as the field. You're still solidly under 50% to get to a best ball mania finals. So the idea then that like, well, as long as I get 4% of this guy, like, I'm protected. Like, you're not protected. You're never protected. You're probably, even if you draft 30% of a guy, your odds are that you're gonna, if you get to the best Slovenia finals, you will still have 0% of this guy. So I just don't think that that's like a reasonable way of drafting, is to be like in constant fear of, well, what if I have 0% of this guy and he nukes me? I'm not saying that's a reason to have 0% of a ton of guys either. Like, there are certain guys for me that I kind of like, but I like other guys more. And sometimes the guys, like, for instance, Marion Hampton is an example of this. I don't really like him that much at ADP, but I'm not completely opposed to the idea. And there's a couple of guys who go behind him I like more, but sometimes those guys get taken ahead of him. And then I take a Marion Hampton, and that's how I'm going to wind up with 4% of Marion Hampton. But like guys who I just straight up hate at cost, like, yeah, I'm not drafting them. And it doesn't mean I don't think that they can burn me. It's just I can only make so many picks, and I'm not going to waste picks on guys that I don't think are good picks. Like, I just don't understand the concept of that.
Well, you do understand the concept. You're not dumb. You get that it's fear-based. You're smart.
I don't understand. I don't understand why that concept is like helpful to you. Like, I get that I could be wrong in my face.
I was going to say,
like,
because
I'm not going to operate
I'm
not going to operate my summer based around the concept that I'm wrong in a game where even if I'm right, I probably lose anyway.
I would say on.
Go ahead. Sorry, Pete.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to shope us along, so you get your last word in here.
Yeah, I think the big difference is, like, do you think this guy is actually a good pick for this team right now? Right? In which case, like, in which case that you do have some openness to the player, but you generally don't love the price. But there are spots where it's like, hey, yeah, I think this guy helps this team. I'll mix in a player I don't take a ton of. Versus, I don't want to live with this giant fade, and he could burn me. So even though I don't like this pick in this draft, I guess I'll just mix him in. I'm not really doing that either.
I would say the philosophy of the 4% exposure blanket, at least from my perspective, would be these are players that I don't feel confident on, but there will be, to Jacob's point, some of the rooms where all the other guys I like go, and you finally get a value on this guy, and I say, I'm going to build the best version of this team compared to everyone else who pays the full price for him. Because we do know that every player has a price in best ball. Like, there is a point where every single player can be a value, and that's just not true in redraft. And so I think, theoretically the exposure blanket has its merit. But let's talk about some of the interesting ones, because then I want to get to the caves, because that's far more interesting than just the guys we're going to continue to fade. I would say the two interesting ones here, Pat, Chase Brown in round 2 at 3%. And then Davis on Tetaroya McMillan. I think that's the one name here that everyone would be like, wait, a ship chaser out on Tetaroya McMillan. So Davis, do McMillan first, and then we can hit Pat on Chase.
His quarterback absolutely sucks. They had a negative point differential last year. They play slow. The coach very clearly doesn't even like the quarterback. And he goes next to players who are all, like, it's so funny. It's like all either you can make the exact same bet as Tetaroya McMillan in Garrett Wilson, like very good player on a terrible team who's right next to him, or you can draft players on really good teams, right? You could draft Ladd, who's on a really good team. You can draft Burden, who's on a really good team. You can draft Waddle, who's on a really good team. But the primary reason is I think I've got 21% Burden across like 1,800 drafts or whatever. And if you're taking 21% of him and 15% of Waddle, there's just not a lot of room left to take. I would say Tetaroya, my rule of thumb is like I absolutely podium run to click him when Burden and Waddle are gone. And that happens enough that I've got an exposure
That happens on
blanket.
DraftKings more.
It's the unintentional 4% exposure blanket.
Yeah,
which
I
is
don't
what
hate
I like.
Ted.
What I
I don't
dislike is
hate
the
him.
intentional 4% exposure blanket, where you're like,
Right.
I'm going to make a pick I don't like here just to have
Right.
some.
Right.
I appreciate what Davis is saying.
Like, I don't hate Tetaroya McMillan. It's just that I think the market is off on him just a smidge. So when the market, the market of an individual draft agrees with me, I'm happy to click him. It just doesn't happen that often.
Tetaroya is the one guy that's on this whole board that, other than Chase Brown, who I'm going to have on my cave list, but he's the only guy that I actually like to click, and he's the only one other than Chase Brown I have more than 0 of. But I agree with your overlying logic. Like, for me, it just applies to other players. Like, I do make Ted a priority in this tier, but I would say, like, I probably have a very similar amount of Ladd that you have of Tetaroya, and I view him very similarly in terms of.
Well, I don't
the
have
guy
very
that
much Ladd either.
Sure, but like I would put Ladd, and then I would also put Ibuka in this group of like guys that I'm not really waking up in the morning, like going out of my way to take 0% of, but who just very rarely fall behind the guys. And the problem is that I like multiple guys. Like if it was only Tetaroya, that was a major priority pick, I still wouldn't want 40% of him. So it'd be easy to be like, sometimes I'll mix in Ibuka here or Ladd here. But because it's like Tetaroa and Garrett and Burden and Waddle and T, all of whom I want to be overweight on, like, it's like one of the guys I want to be overweight on is always there. So like it makes it hard. And I feel like if you wound up here with Tetaroa, like it's a range of wide receivers. I would guess almost everyone has guys that they don't hate that they're fading, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I've gotten underweight on Ladd, which I don't like. But there is just kind of, I'm now like a tiny bit underweight on Garrett Wilson, just under 8% there. So like there's got to be guys you don't take in that range. McMillan's been someone I'm making sure not to have a true fade on. I'm at 9%, not like super overweight, but to me, it's like this guy was an immediate real wide receiver 1 from an NFL sense and is good after the catch, can earn targets. It's a big dude, should be a red zone weapon. I think Chris Brazzell getting hurt probably hurts him a little bit from a ceiling perspective, where it's like maybe the offense just could have been opened up more. But I still think, ultimately, who knows what Brazzell would have even done this year as a 3rd round pick, might not have had a huge role. So I think from like the ability to take a 2nd-year leap, where I feel like people kind of already view McMillan as closer to a finished product because he got on the field and played so much right away as a rookie. But that's not really how these things go. Like he could take another leap and become one of the best wide receivers in the league. This is a very highly drafted, very productive college receiver who was an immediate starter and, reasonably impressive in a not great situation as a rookie. I think you could take a big step forward. So you have to pay for it. And it's not an offense that I love, obviously, but I think from a talent perspective, I just don't want to be underweight on Tetaroa McMillan.
So the full list here for our audio listeners on fades, we're going to keep fading a couple Josh Allens, a Chase Brown for Pat, a Roma Dunze and Javonte Williams for Jacob, a DJ Moore for Pat, a QJ for me, and then the Tetaroa for Davis. Let's use Chase Brown as a segue into the caves because Davis or Pat is going to continue fading Chase Brown.
Can I DJ Moore real quick?
Yeah, of course.
We just
have a lot of ground to cover.
Liam was asking if the DJ Moore faders are quaking in their boots. So I just want to hear you
because
quake.
of the one contested catch he caught in practice yesterday.
So this is I believe from The Athletic this morning. Sack shared it. It was a dynamite catch, an outstanding throw by Allen, which goes to show the type of connection the two players are building early on this summer. Having a trustworthy boundary target on the field more often than not can help open things up for Allen in the offense. Even if it doesn't mean a massive statistical output for Moore like Stephon Diggs had upon his arrival, a player the opposing defense needs to game plan for was a necessary missing piece from the Bills' passing game puzzle in 2025. I like that they're immediately like, he probably won't have that much production,
right.
But
this is, I heard Nate Tice was on Matt Harmon's show, or Matt Harmon was on whatever, they were doing a show. And they were talking about this and they had kind of a similar tenor to the conversation and they were both pretty optimistic on Moore. Like, It's nice that I feel like we have 2 ways to win this fade, right? Option 1, he's completely washed. Right, and then we obviously win. Option 2, he's not washed, but he's not as good as he was in like 2020 through 2023. And he is doing a lot of clear outs, and he's helping the Bills, and he's obviously way more productive than like what Josh Palmer was last year. But he's still just providing sunlight for Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid to catch a bunch of short passes and James Cook to run a million times.
Yep.
All right, let's talk Chase Brown, Pat. So segue us into why you're going to continue fading, and then we'll give Jacob a chance to retort with a cave.
Yeah, so I saw Chase Brown was on Jacob's cave list, and that was sort of the tiebreaker for me to put him on the fade list because I do think it's not necessarily I have this huge anti-Chase Brown position, but he has, this is a player who isn't all that good, who really benefits from being in an elite passing, tied to an elite passing game and has consolidated the running back touches there. So like, I get why he goes where he goes, but he does strike me as like a little bit fragile just as far as like, I don't think he is particularly talented. He's in the right spot to maximize, what he's got for sure. And then, so I haven't been taking a ton of them because there's been other guys that I like there. What's happening is that I think there's just gonna be more other options for me as Malik Neighbors moves up into this same range. And I think we're going to be taking him in kind of that mid to late second round range, especially in time box stuff where you're not thinking about people who have him in the fourth. So, I think like Brown can maybe do like really hit from the second round just because of how good the offense is. And he does catch the ball, but he's not an efficient receiver. He's not a particularly efficient runner. So it's very much like a volume-based play, which I think is kind of inherently fragile now for a player who's 26. Like he's not super young anymore. I just don't think that profile in the middle of the second, as that middle of the second is starting to look a little bit better overall to me, is a guy that I'm going to end up taking more of down the stretch than I have so far.
I hear you. I mean, that's why I have 4% currently. So I definitely hear you. And I don't think I'm going to be like, now I'm not like flipping him from a fade to like a priority. I want 20% of this guy. I think I mostly have just gotten, I've warmed on Chase Brown a little bit. I'll shout out my Dynasty Points co-host, Ryan Heath's Anatomy of a League Winner article, which was really bullish on Brown. Went into just kind of how much receiving XFP he's packed in the Joe Burrow games, which is like kind of like a discount version of the Christian McCaffrey bet, where you're like, yeah, I don't know if this guy's that great, but if he's just going to get loaded up with XFP, you kind of can't fail in this offense. And then I've simultaneously just gotten a little softer on two guys that I had ranked right ahead of him, which were Saquon Barkley. I've been pretty bullish on. I'm getting like a little bit spooked on some of the Tank Bigsby stuff, just because I think Barkley's case was already a little fragile. You lose some goal line chances to your quarterback. The receiving upside is not that high. Like I need him to be consolidating all of the rushing. And if there's a chance that Tank Bigsby's cutting into that, not like anything close to 50-50, but if that goes from like a 85-15 to like a 65-35 or a 70-30, that feels like a really tough road to hoe. So I think I'm probably like a little bit more into Brown than Barkley if I'm doing a re-rank today. And then Hampton, I'm not that convinced that Amarian Hampton is that great. And so he's a guy that I'm betting on the environment to carry him for. But like at least I know with Chase Brown, I'm getting an elite environment and I'm getting all the touches. And with Amarian Hampton, I'm pretty sure I'm getting an elite environment. I'm actually not that sure at all I'm getting all the touches. And in fact, I don't think I'm getting all the touches.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Like if I was to guess, like who's the better talent, I think Hampton certainly has the higher talent upside. He's going into year 2, is a way better prospect. We have less kind of a tape on him of being kind of mid. But like, I don't know. I also like, I argue with Ryan about Chase Brown a lot because he's way higher on him than Dynasty. We just did a Dynasty show about Chase Brown, and I agree with all the fragility points there. But like for this year, like he's fragile to who? Taj Brooks and Samaj AP Ryan? Like he's going to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll probably be out there.
He was pretty fragile to Samaj P. Ryan last year. He was playing about 60% of the snaps.
Yeah, and scoring a fuck ton of fantasy points while doing it, though.
It's scoring a fuck ton of fantasy points and
he was scoring 18. He was scoring 18 half PPR points per game whenever Joe Burrow played.
I'm more sympathetic to Karane's side, but I don't do enough to act on it because of the Joe Burrow stuff.
I just feels like at this point, because it almost, we talk about the things like are we punishing Khalil Shakur and Kyle Pitts for what they did years ago and now they're at new prices. Like I feel like I continue to punish Chase Brown because he was a 5th round pick, because we always thought they were going to draft someone, because we thought he was going to seed 3rd down work. And it's just like, it feels like those concerns have almost fully washed away at this point. And I'm the same, like I'm really low exposure on Chase Brown, but I'm closer to a cave, I think, than sticking with it, because I have a hard time saying he's definitively a worse pick than Achane and Henry at this point.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not it's
I've
less
had him
so
ahead
that,
of those guys for a while, and that's been fine. It's Barkley and Hampton
Yeah.
that I'm switching up on. I'm never going to take him above Walker. That's not happening.
Well, Brown over Barkley, that's a big flip, like ADP wise. I mean, relative to.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm still strong.
I'm not
Barkley
saying
over
necessarily even that. Like, I guess I just feel like I should mix it up a little bit between those guys. Like, I'm currently overweight Barkley, and I don't really want to be overweight Barkley anymore. Like, I think I'm at like 14% Barkley and 4% Brown. I'd like to get those more even. Why? What is like this? Like, because if you do like the projections, I don't think Barkley out projects Chase Brown. Like, what gets you to Barkley there?
I'm a lot more confident in Barkley being a guy who actually adds, and from a talent perspective, even as he is a bit older than I am with Brown. I mean, Brown has had some explosiveness. He's never been a consistent runner, and you deal with, like, the offensive line is not great. Like, you're going to be potentially dealing with Chase Brown, like, being inconsistent enough for them to try someone else. Like, that to me is a worry with Brown from a second round point of view, because it's not like he needs to lose the whole job. He can just, like, score 12 points a game, and, like, that, I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's still the clear lead back from, you know, if you're going to project out like who gets touches this week, but he's not scoring as well as you were thinking, because they're starting to, like, have second thoughts about just absolutely feeding him. He's losing enough snaps. Kind of a classic sort of silent killer fragility, as opposed to Taj Brooks becomes the starter there. So, like, and I know Bigsby's had a good camp, and that's cool, but, you know, they're talking about throwing to Barkley a little bit more in the new offense, which I'm fairly skeptical of. But there's been some things
really
that are
skeptical of that.
I'm pretty
we're
skeptical
gonna get
of
under
that.
center more and do play action more, and we're gonna throw to the running back more. Like that, those go together really.
Yeah.
They can, depending on what you're. I mean, the Lions do a ton of play action passes to the running back from under center, so it can.
Let's reveal these, and then we can discuss some of the more interesting ones. These are our fades that we are now massively reconsidering and thinking about course correcting on. No surprise here. Davis and I in lockstep on the Josh Allen fade and doubling down. And we are ready to capitulate to big Parker Washington, Davis.
How is Maddox caving for someone he's already overweight on?
Yeah, 9.8%.
Because I legit had zero. Like, I probably had about 3% like a month ago. And I just decided, you know what? No fucking chance am I letting all the Parker Washington people get this one over on me. Because frankly, if I am to remain intellectually honest, if I'm going to be following the Coach Speak Tough on Luther Burden and guys that I like, it really is. There's like no intellectual rigor if you only listen to Coach Speak on things that agree with your preconceived notions. If you don't remain Bayesian on this stuff at all, you're literally better off just being like, I don't give a shit what the coach says. Because then you're totally just doing confirmation bias. What I want the Jaguars to say is Travis Hunter is our best slot wide receiver. We're going to make sure to use him in that way. But, you know, we really liked what Parker did last year, and we're going to make sure to work him in. That has been the exact opposite of the reporting. The reporting has been Parker Washington is our starting slot wide receiver. We love this guy. He's the first one in the building. I believe I like the thing. It's the Coach Speak about Parker Washington has been as insane as the Coach Speak has been for Luther Burden. And it would just be, it would really be such bullshit of me to say the Luther Burden Coach Speak, love it, buy it, you should pay attention to it. But the Parker Washington Coach Speak, they're all lying. You know,
Old Davis would have done that.
Old Davis would have done that, yeah.
I love that your case is based on I have to be ideologically consistent about reacting to as much narrative.
Well, it's also it's also that a big reason for being out on Parker Washington would have been because Travis Hunter is better at the same job, and they've said Travis Hunter is not playing that position. Travis Hunter, to me, sounds like he's rotating with Brian Thomas Jr. The way that I'm reading it.
I don't get that vibe because, I mean, Thomas Jr. has had a ton of positive
buzz.
like nonstop positive reports for Brian Thomas.
I'm not saying fade BTJ. I'm saying it sounds like he's playing his position.
Yeah,
I don't think Travis Hunter is going to play
packages of X and F.
And X and F, yeah.
Sure, but F is Parker Washington's job.
Correct, but X is BTJ's job.
X is BTJ's job, yeah. Yeah, and Parker Washington's going to play some Z. I assume Brian Thomas will play some Z. Like, they're not going to purely just have everyone in one role.
Yeah, they interchange a decent amount.
Right.
So let me ask you this, Davis, because this is my thing. Like, I do want to get this Parker Washington exposure up, partly because in the beginning of round 6, I'm often just pulling up a quarterback there.
It's so dead there anyway.
It's so dead. The question is, like, today I did a draft where he went pick 57. Like, if he's on a rocket ship to the middle of the 5th
This is why I didn't put him as a cave.
That's my concern. Like, I'll buy early round 6.
Quarterbacks there are horrible. So like, it's just so easy to get exposure
in the 5th round.
Like, no, I'm talking mid 5th. Like, I'm not going to take him over Christian Watson. Like, I'm not doing that.
I think that's something to consider.
I don't
like if I'm just saying take him now ahead of frickin' Carnell Tate.
That's what I'm gonna do.
And Brian Thomas, because soon enough he's gonna be going ahead of Terry McLaurin, and you're not gonna like that.
Yeah,
I know.
I am gonna like that. That's what I'm hoping will happen. I think that's so bad. I seriously, like there's been everyone's having a great camp in Jacksonville. Like, it's like, I mean, it's getting to the point where I'm starting to wonder if the Tootin bullishness is just narrative. Well, because then Chris Rodriguez shows up and they're like, this guy hits harder than anyone I've ever seen. I'm like, what's going on? I mean, you guys are having a great time and that's awesome, but every single player is having a stellar camp.
Okay, so I don't care at all about like how good players look at camp. Like I talked about yesterday, I was like, this Tootin thing is insanity because Tootin looks great and C-Rod looks great, so we're going to move them up both around apparently. So that has no relation to one another. So I mean, I like to hear that players look good at camp. That doesn't really matter. I think that there are meaningful things about Parker that you're getting reports on that are not about the other receivers. You're getting John Shipley saying, I think Parker Washington will lead the team in snaps. That was like 2 months ago. Yeah. When we had this argument and about Parker Washington versus Brian Thomas, and one of the things that you said that I thought was reasonable was, well, even if Parker Washington is as or more productive on as many routes, BTJ is going to run more routes. Maybe that's still the case, but that's not matching with what the reporting is right now. The stuff about Hunter learning other positions so that his snaps don't just come at Parker Washington's expense. Like, I think that matters a ton. The fact that Parker Washington's getting reps at all positions so he can stay on the field in all formations, that matters a ton. So I don't think it's just like he looks great today that like really moves me. Everyone looks great every day apparently in Jacksonville and frankly for most teams. But I do think that like the talk on Parker Washington, I think, continues to support that he's going to be the most played and most productive Jacksonville receiver. The Myers stuff is pretty quiet. I think
it has been.
He could be the victim of other players doing well.
Agreed.
And the Thomas stuff is really positive, but like there's a note on every Thomas report that seems to be he looks great. That's going to do a lot for our offense. Thomas looks fantastic. He's going to draw the number 1 cornerback so other people can produce. Like there's just a tenor of Brian Thomas positivity that is great, and it's what you want to hear if you're drafting Brian Thomas, but it doesn't seem like it's all tied to his own productivity. Everything about Parker Washington that's bullish seems to be like he's going to run a lot of routes, he's going to play a lot of snaps, he's going to be the first read a whole bunch, he's going to score a ton of fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, compared to where I was on Parker Washington a month or two ago to where I am now, I've moved up Parker Washington significantly and in kind of several stages, like, and we're still not getting him a ton because he's moved up in ADP. So the reason I don't have him as a cave is because
he's not moved up near as much as you would think for someone that the
that's fair.
Been this
like half a round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of what Pete was saying with like that half a round is the potential of taking him above like the Christian Watson and the Carnell Tate. And he's not, even with what we have now, he's not popping above those guys. And I think we're being...
just take him above Brian Thomas and Rome?
Yeah, you could take him above Brian Thomas and Rome.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's where I'm at.
But he's not like a priority for me to do that. I'm still like... My read on this is still that there's 4 guys there. I'm taking the most expensive guy. I'm taking the guy I don't even think is the best NFL talent. He's just, maybe the offense is kind of designed to get that role targets, which is pretty helpful, but it also kind of comes with some fragility, given that there's another guy who's probably better than him who can play that role in Hunter and probably will to some extent. So it's just like, how much of a priority do I want to make getting Parker Washington? And it's not enough for me to call him a cave. I do want more Parker Washington than I've had so far, but it's going to be like one of those things where I'm taking him some as opposed to like trying to correct a position.
Let's do, just since every show on this channel turns into a long digression about the Jags wide receivers, let's get a spicy one from Jacob here. 0% CeeDee Lamb. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, I mean, it's not that hot because I'm caving.
He's
so
got
it'd be
Justin
hotter
Jefferson.
if I said I was gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the fundamental thing about how I draft that is different than I think how most people draft. Is like I just take my highest ranked player every time. So like if you're not my highest ranked player, I don't take you. So like I live with no fear. So CeeDee Lamb has never been my highest ranked player, and thus I've never taken him because he's never there when Justin Jefferson and Ashton Genty are both already off the board. But I'm going to start taking him because I'm going to move him ahead of Justin Jefferson, and that'll make a big shift in how I draft. Because I think a couple things. Like one, I was listening to the ETE pod. They came away pretty bullish on Lamb and in like ways that made sense that I feel like didn't match my vibes. Like in my mind, I had been of the opinion that like Lamb and Pickens were uncomfortably close to one another. They were bringing up a lot of the lingering effects of the injury, the fact that Lamb was still out targeting him by a good amount, and that much of kind of why they were producing close to each other was post-target efficiency. I take that pretty seriously, and that got me kind of more bullish on Lamb as a talent. And then the vibes out of Minnesota camp have just been like, not all terrible, but very inconsistent, to the point that I'm not quite as secure about Kyler Murray coming in, playing really well in a way for Justin Jefferson, in the way that I feel like I need to be like making such a huge stand on taking Jefferson ahead of Lamb every single time. So I am still like erring towards running back in round one. I'm still erring toward wanting to be overweight on Genty by a lot, especially, which makes it hard to get anyone in round one because I just want such a massive exposure there. But yeah, I'm gonna rank Lamb ahead of. I'm just gonna rank like Amon-Ra, Lamb, and Jefferson as they are at ADP. Probably be a little bit underweight to all three because of my Genty exposure for the rest of the run, but like that'll at least allow me to get Lamb sometimes.
Yep. Pat, an interesting one here. You were at 2% Devontae Smith, but you want to boost that number up?
Yeah, I mean it's we'll get to some of the guys that I'm taking because I put this in and then I was on the clock and some slows and Devontae Smith was there and I didn't take him because someone else I liked even more.
Are you caving on your cave?
I'm caving on my cave actually. But I do think that, Devontae Smith, he's being priced as like there's a high likelihood that he'll be the clear number one. The offense is going to run through him and you don't really have to worry about Mekhi Lemon. Maybe later in the season, Mekhi Lemon does something, but like Smith's just going to be such a steady, like NFL wide receiver one that, you're going to love having him in the third round and in the early third round. I have been kind of skeptical of that with being a big time believer in Lemon, but Lemon's dealing with this hamstring. That's not good for his early season, ability to hit the ground running, even if he does ultimately get over it and have a great season. Stowers has been pretty invisible. He's not going to have any kind of early season impact. And so it does look more like the whole passing game, especially, the downfield passing game. Goddard does some stuff on screens, but like 10 plus yard targets. I mean, that is probably going to flow through Devontae Smith to begin the year, even with Wicks looking like he's at a solid camp. But, I think if it's Smith and Wicks, Goddard and Lemon's not playing a ton because of the hammy to start the year, like, he's going to have a nice target share. So I'm trying to get a bit more and just break ties to Devontae Smith as much as I can, even though there are some fallers in the third round that make that hard.
I feel similarly to you, Pat. I kind of have a hard time taking him.
Yeah. I've been taking him. He was like a contender actually to be in my ditch. Did I put him in my ditch? I might have subbed him out because I was deciding between a few people, but because I'm pretty far overweight. A lot of that is because before the AJ Brown trade, I was clicking him like an insane amount. But I've still been clicking him a decent amount after, and it's been a little bit of my top guy syndrome where like he's often the top guy and I take him a lot. And then like recently I've been like, he is my top guy, but like by how much should he be my top guy? And so I've started to mix in some other guys ahead. And I'm probably still much more optimistic than you, but I'm not as, our exposures, I guess, would say that I'm like 8 times as optimistic as you, and I'm surely not. So that's going to come down. I'll probably
I'd like to kind of get closer. Maybe we just end up closer by the end, but sounding a little week 1 brain was a comment, and I mean it is a little week 1 brain in the sense I am thinking about him in the beginning of the season scoring more than I thought, but I mean, for me, it's like I'm kind of updating the prior, which is like I think that the market's just been straight up overpricing how much Devontae Smith will score this year, and now I'm thinking they're not doing that as much as I thought. I still don't think he's this smash pick in the 3rd, but he's a guy I do want to get more of. It's like mid-3rd, and Devontae Smith's there. That's going to be kind of a run to the podium unless one of my guys we'll talk about later is there.
Is that an interesting spot to just get unique? Because I do feel like when you're picking in the early 3rd, like I did 2 BBMs this morning, and one of them, I was like, I guess like 3-5, and Jeremiah Love fell to me, and I was like, I was like that scene after Joseph Gordon-Levitt has sex with Zooey Deschanel in 500 Days of Summer, where you're like walking through the street and there's birds chirping and there's like a band playing Hall & Oates and you're dancing with the public. And the next time I was at 3-6 and Love went right before me, and I was just staring down like that same decision I've had a million times of, well, Smith, Flowers, or Olave, and like the world felt colorless. Like maybe I should just be fun and be like what if instead I just take like Luther Burden there, and then I come back in the 4th and take Terry McLaurin? Like why don't we just start doing crazy stuff more often? Because it feels like the gap of wide receiver from the early 3rd to the late 4th feels so minimal.
Well, and that dovetails with mine that I'm going to probably cave on here. Emeka Egbuka, 0.9%. And I still do prefer playing it through Godwin, but the extent of that confidence is not 0.9% relative to Ladd and Zay and these other guys. I've been clicking here, and I certainly see the ceiling case, and I've been stubborn with him here, and this is just far too low for a guy like Egbuka who can potentially break fantasy and be a round 2 guy next year. So I'm going to stop being stubborn, and I am passing a little bit more on Zay now and just being open to Egbuka in that mid-3rd round range.
I'm going to take some more Egbuka ahead of Smith just to like balance out the exposures a bit, because I think I'm like 14-1, so that doesn't seem reasonable.
Yeah.
I think Ibuka's going to end up being a fade for me.
Okay.
He is going to end up being a fade for me, but I mean, I know this disputes everything that I just said like a while ago, but I think I'm going to try to reach for like just a little bit heavier of a blanket. Like right now I really do have like the loincloth.
Yeah.
I do want him to be a fade for me, but I think I'm being like, it's not that I'm like, it's not that I'm fearful of like him beating me or that I think I'm been wrong. It's just I'm probably being stubborn on guys that I like very slightly and marginally ahead of him, like for no reason. Like there's a degree to which like I do clearly want to be much more overweight Flowers than him and overweight Smith than him, but I don't know that it actually is a reasonable level of confidence.
Isn't that the trick with all of this, right? You do a draft and there's this element of our brains that trick ourselves like, this is the one draft. Like I'm going to get the guy I prefer more, but you have that mentality over the course of 100 drafts, or in the case of you guys, a million. And then you're like, wait, it's like the plane that just steers like 1 degree off course, but then you end up in a different continent.
Yeah.
After going halfway across the world.
I like Ibuka as a player. I think he's definitely an intriguing kind of breakout candidate. And so it's like hard for me to be like, well, you couldn't possibly take him where he goes, but I'm not taking him where he goes because I like a lot of the other plays significantly better. And like Luther Burden, I've talked a lot about, like I'm struggling to get as much as I want, but I'm doing my best. I'm at 6%. Like I like Ibuka less than Burden. I'd rather just take Burden. So how am I going to get Ibuka? Like Ibuka's just kind of like, all right.
That's been my problem too. I like Burden more straight up.
There's only
like,
so many things I can do in these drafts. This is how I feel like what you were talking about earlier, Jake, was like, well, like, in the end of the day, like the way these cut downs happen and stuff, like I don't have that many teams that are going to be live in week 16. I'm not going to burn stuff on Ibuka. I think it's like, I get why people might be excited, but I'm just not there
is a
someone asked
solution.
us to explain why we're fading him. And like, I mean, I think we probably view it similarly, which is just like the market is pricing this guy like he's a stud wide receiver 1. And maybe he is, but I just don't understand why the market is so confident about it. Like, this was a guy who was a good, not great prospect who posted a 1.75 yards per route run in year 1. I'm not even trying to make the argument that like we should de-weight that yards per route run because it was better at the beginning of the season than the end of the season. Like,
neither am I.
I guess all things being considered, I'd probably prefer you be better at the end than the beginning, but I'll just treat it like it's all the same. That profile in a vacuum is just nowhere close to a round 3 pick. I can't really think of an analog to this. I get he was dealing with a hamstring injury. Like, I don't know. There's like little excuses you can make for everybody, and I'm just wary of putting so much weight on those type of excuses when I think that they're very priced in. And it's just a struggle. So I'm probably lying when I say I want to get more. I've been saying this about Ibuka for 2 months. I'm like, I have none of this guy, and I'd like to get a little bit, and I haven't taken a little bit yet.
I'd like to get a little bit too.
Now.
Because he starts going at the 4 or 5 turn, and then I can take a good amount.
No, that's not happening. Like,
so
he's gonna go at the freaking 2-3 turn. So
yeah, right.
I guess
so
it's like,
I just not.
And we're also at a point where a lot of the case now for him is that people are like, well, like, haven't you considered he's the clear wide receiver 1? I'm like, okay, like he probably is, but like, so is Zay Flowers, the wide receiver 1 in a good offense, who goes like at the same price now as him, and I'm so much more confident in Flowers as a talent. McMillan now goes nearly a full round after him. I'm like so much more confident in the talent to the point that
me too.
It pretty easily beats out the difference in offensive environment in my calculus. Like Garrett Wilson's a clear wide receiver 1. Waddle, I mean, maybe he shredded his hamstring today. I don't know. He apparently walked off the field. But assuming that's nothing fine. And he's healthy, great.
He's a clear wide receiver 1.
Bo Nix led the NFL in pass attempts last year. Like Jalen Waddle is also on a high pass rate offense. Is way better than Emeka Egbuka has thus far shown to be. Yep. Is also the clear wide receiver 1. Is playing next to, in my opinion, a worse wide receiver 2, and less compelling tertiary weapons. Like, it makes no sense to me why I would have to bet on a guy breaking out in year 2 to be better than Jalen Waddle by a full round when I could just bet on Jalen Waddle. It doesn't compute to me. I don't get it.
Let's real quick. Yeah, let's hit a couple of these. Davis, you want to talk about course correcting on Dalton Kincaid despite being out on Allen?
I mean, Kincaid has the same profile he's always had, but the need for him is greater as Shakir's proven he can't be a wide receiver 1. And I don't think you can reasonably be out on DJ Moore and then say Kincaid has no chance to legitimately break out, because Kincaid's per route stats are elite. It's actually, again, remaining ideologically consistent, very similar to how the per route stuff is really big on Luther Burden. And the team has given the right lip service to playing him in a full-time role. Dawson Knox is another year older. I can't believe this is a sentence that I'm saying, but Jackson Hawes is a legitimate fly in the ointment for Dalton Kincaid. However, if the Bills do follow the rest of the NFL into more 12 personnel as their kind of base stuff, they're running more there. Well, and actually Kincaid is also fading whatever his name is, Aaron Anderson, Alec Anderson, this swing tackle they play. They use jumbo formations quite a bit with a 6th offensive lineman. Basically, it's like, I think the odds of Kincaid getting 76% of the routes are higher than the market. I think the odds of DJ Moore paying off a wide receiver 27 price tag are lower than the market, which would mean that Kincaid looks like a pretty good value to me.
Welcome aboard. I'm at 11% Kincaid, so not like someone I'm been completely jammy, but I think he's just a good pick.
It's just a good bet. He's just a good bet. I mean, pick. he goes. So like, and the team you're building, you can go the flavor you need. Like if you need someone who's just going to get 9.5 points per game, Kelsey's right there. and you can take him. If you have a team that should be courting a little bit more variance because of decisions you've made prior to that, Kincaid is a way to court that variance.
Ferguson is also there. I'm at 13% for Jake Ferguson.
Hey, buddy, which Ferguson?
I know I needed to say Jake. So I literally said Ferguson. I was like, no one knows what I'm talking about. But it's not like Kincaid's a smash, but I do think he's. Yeah, and I also take a lot of Shakir. So I'm playing the Bills through Kincaid and Shakir at cheap prices. I think they can both.
I could see
ADPs.
Kincaid smashing. Like there are
Me
scenarios.
too.
Like it's pretty light, but like I see scenarios where he could.
We took this guy in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Well,
He could pay off 126. Well, yeah,
Now-
I didn't really, but
Now,
People
Karade,
did.
this hanging Chad here, this hanging
this is
Kolar,
such bullshit.
yeah.
Is this
No, I mean-
is this a cave in what direction?
Yeah, you're caving to your own internal pressure. You're caving to your coworkers.
I've been fading this guy 3%, Charlie Kolar. I'm not taking this
you
dude
can't
at
call
all.
3% a fade for someone who's drafted like in 15% of drafts.
This
I'd
is a
love
hard
to
stance.
know-
People are always bringing up Charlie Kolar on my streams because I'm not taking him, and they want to
Compared
know
to
why.
sacrilegious,
Oh my
this
God.
is a fade.
This
Compared to
is
the normal
ridiculous.
human being, this
I
is
would
a
love-
giant
I would
bag.
love to know-
This is like it's not even an impressive troll. It's just unethical.
When I get to Mason's house,
You're literally
next week,
above the field.
I'm gonna
You're
ask
taking
everyone in
advantage
the
of
flock
people
league.
not understanding the math of draft rate, and you're trying to prey on the ignorant.
I'm gonna ask everyone in the flock league what team is Charlie Kolar on. All the guys. I'm gonna say what. I'm gonna say for your life, domain, boys. What team is Charlie Kolar on? Like, if you are not an absolute best ball freak, you don't even know who Charlie Kolar is.
No,
Let me just share this. This is why I'm caving, because this seems pretty bullish. This is from yesterday on the awesome tight end room. And this is Coach Speak Index. Greg actually DM'd this to me because he thinks I should cave on Charlie Kolar and doesn't understand why I'm so out.
He was too afraid to post it online.
On the awesome tight end room and what Harbaugh thinks of David Njoku and Arante Gadsden coming back and all that jazz. So far, so good. Really good. Charlie Kolar, David, Arante. That's a really strong group. And then he talks about Scott Matlock. But he's like, wasn't asked about Kolar. Put Kolar first.
Sorry, so I've had this line that I kept
What a
using.
punchline.
I've had this line I keep using all year about like the Chargers are going to play 11 different skill players on offense in every game, and like I hadn't even counted Scott Matlock, so maybe I'm going to change that to 12.
What about Tucker Fisk? Did you count Tucker Fisk?
I hadn't
brother?
counted him either. I thought Alec Ingold was going to take all of the Matlock and Fisk
Yeah, right,
snaps,
dude.
but I guess not.
You'll pry Tucker Fisk away from Harbaugh's cold dead hands.
I guess
man.
we got to keep. So I guess we got to update the list. Yeah, I also heard that he wanted to draft Keandre Lambert-Smith. So maybe it's 14
Well, apparently they
skill
got
players per
outbid.
game.
They got outbid on Taysom Hill. They're trying to bring in Taysom Hill.
Oh my god!
All right,
Ridiculous.
let's go. Let's go to some of our heavy exposures, and I think the double down is a little less interesting relative to the big stands that we are wanting
get
to
rid of.
ditch at this point. So let's go ahead and reveal Eric all here. And geez, Jacob and Davis on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about Arande Gadsden here. You're Jacob's at 17%. Davis does have flat ass exposures here that he's ditching his 10.2%.
Well,
It's like you,
Well,
you don't
this was-
believe in anything, dude. Like
This was a lot higher. This was a lot higher than 10% 3 weeks ago. You guys caught me in the middle of like I'm like actively making these decisions.
Pete's,
Dude,
by the way,
it's-
Pete's
hey,
is
it's
just as
hard-
unethical as Pat's. Like, ditch should not be. I got this guy at a really great price, and he's going to
this
go
is my
up. I would-
highest exposure
this would be-
player. Like
This would
is
be
all
like if
will
I
work
put
with.
no. This is such BS. This is like if I put Diggs on my ditch, and it's just and instead of ditch,
I should have
it's
put
just
Debo.
Bragg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like ditch should be a guy I used to like that now I don't. Not a guy that I liked, still like, and then I want to brag about how I got a better price than everyone else.
No, it was two options. It was this, which is fair criticism. That's fair. It's fair. Or it was the Davis thing where I put like a guy at 10.2%, and then you make fun of me for ditching a guy I don't even have a lot of. Those were the two options.
17.8% literally your highest exposure player?
Well, Jerby Bernard's slightly higher, but yeah,
I guess you
here's
do
the
a lot
deal.
of drafts with guests that like
true.
give you different preferences. So I'll give you an excuse for
So
your
here's
lack
the
of
deal
belief
with
in
my
anything.
exposures. It takes a long time to get them where they're going. I had 500 drafts done before the NFL draft. Like it takes a long time to change anything in my exposures.
Well,
So to me,
honestly-
Are you counting those in your exposure too?
I used my whole tab. Yeah, I just used
I
my whole
the
tab.
post-draft exposures.
My post draft tab on Gadsden would be a lot lower. I don't think I've taken him in a month, but
I think we should give Pete a little credit here for having this flat of exposure. As you guys know, when the sample's small, you do 10, 15, 20 drafts, it's hard to be flat.
You got to be really intentional to get 17.8% across 20 drafts. Real intentional.
Gadsden is mine. We just talked about Kolar.
It's over, dude. It's over.
Pat didn't read the report. Anyways, Pat didn't read out the most bearish report, which was like not even really a report. It was like a reply to like a tweet, but it was anyways. There's like been a lot of reports that have not been very clear on like who is specifically rotating with who and when. But if you just like really mine through it, you'll see things like Charlie Kolar catches pass from Justin Herbert, David Njoku catches pass from Justin Herbert, Aronde Gadsden catches pass from DJ Uiagalelei. DJ Uiagalelei. There we go. And that's not good. So then I think it was either Greg or Zane or I don't know, one of the GOAT aggregators got a Chargers beat reporter to be like, hey, what's the deal? Like, is it those two with the first and Gadsden with the twos and the threes? And I think he said that's mostly been the case. I do expect that to change when pads come on. I don't know why you would expect that to change, but I guess it's nice that he does. Anyways, I don't like. I still want to be in on Gadsden. I think he's a really talented player. I think we're getting a pretty nice price for a guy who did a lot as a rookie. But like, if he's legitimately just their tight end 3, then like, yeah, he has to be like just a late round flyer. So I'm definitely going to be mixing in more round 18, round 17, Kolar and Njoku.
Wow.
And Gadsden, like,
Hey,
I hope that everyone sees this report. That's part of why I'm announcing it for the world, is that like, I hope everyone sees this report. I hope they move him way down the board and that I can take some shots on him for free. But like, he should be going behind Terrence Ferguson. Right? If we're wanting rotational fun tight ends.
You are
playing
right
in Los Angeles.
But yeah.
like that's so I think we're Gadsden. I'm gonna do a ranks update today. He's gonna be behind Helm, behind Ferguson. I'm still gonna keep him, I think, ahead of like Freiermuth and Otten. But we gotta come down a bunch if he's just legitimately their tight end 3. Otherwise, because like as much as I like Gadsden, I also like Greg Dulcich. I also like Albert Aquabanam.
Yeah.
We have seen guys who pop as rookies just like get completely iced by a new coaching staff year 2. It wouldn't be unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like part of my thing with Gadsden, I have been wondering how much of this is like Kolar and Njoku are new to the team, and they are kind of just trying those guys out with the first team and seeing how that looks, and they know kind of more what Gadsden is. But also, that might not be true at all, and Gadsden might just be the clear tight end 3. So I'm trying to like leave a little bit of optimism in my mind for this early training camp, not to be like exactly what their plan is week 1, but it's pretty concerning and not my expectation. I mean, I've been taking Kolar for a little while, but I thought Gadsden would be ahead of Njoku.
That's the concerning part. I actually don't care very much about Kolar as it pertains to Gadsden, because I was never anticipating Gadsden being like their 11 personnel Y tight end on 1st and 10. So those guys to me like have very different roles. But I definitely care if he's behind Njoku. And then I also care that they've really seemed to love their wide receivers. I know everybody gets a lot of buzz, but like QJ's gotten positive buzz. Trey Harris has gotten positive buzz. Brennan Thompson is like the talk of the town. And I thought part of the appeal of Gadsden is I didn't think that much of their receivers, and maybe they're a team that plays a ton in 12 and 13, and Gadsden is like effectively their wide receiver 2 or their wide receiver 3.
Right.
But if they love their receivers and they actually want to try to find ways to get Harris and Thompson on the field as much as possible, and they still like QJ, like then it does become like pretty tough to see where Gadsden finds those extra snaps. So if he becomes like, you know, like a free shot at the end, I'll happily get back in, but I gotta probably scale it back.
Pat and Davis, you guys are going to ditch Eli Stowers. I guess this one's kind of interesting. We obviously had bearish reports, but now you kind of throw in the Lemon stuff. Maybe he gets a slow start. Do you guys have any reservations about ditching it, or is it these bags are just way too heavy for what we're looking at right now?
Just do not need 18% of a guy who's like probably going to be a healthy scratch week 1 for Johnny Munt. Can probably lay off that a bit.
Yeah, especially on underdog in the 18 rounds. I just think he's going to kind of fall behind other stuff I want to do, even other tight ends.
Like Raritan is getting better reports than him right now.
Right, Raritan.
By a lot. Raritan's
Kolar,
the first team all the time. Mitchell Evans is a better pick than him.
I don't agree with that, but I mean there is there are other guys that I want to take even at that same position in the 18th, and I have a good amount of Stowers. I don't think it's dead. Like this isn't one of those ones where I'm like, well, I guess that I'll draft a lot more teams because the ones I drafted with Eli Stowers are dead. Like I think those teams are fine, but I don't need to double down in the face of these reports.
Crane,
he's probably not going to play
that's such
a
the
lot.
right way to say it. Like I wouldn't if you offered me a surrender button on these Stowers teams, I'm like, no, I'm fine with the decisions
I'm not
I've
clicking
made.
it.
But this isn't a position that I need to build upon. I can do other things now.
Right.
It's exactly how I feel.
And it's like, look, the way Stowers pays off on those teams is that he produces at the end of the season, and I drafted those teams when I didn't know what was going to be, happening in week 1 for a ton of teams, including this position. Like what is Stowers' week 1 role? But now I do know that Stowers is unlikely to have much of a week 1 role at all. And so, I think on DraftKings, I feel a little differently because you have those extra rounds and maybe an extra tight end. But on underdog, I think the bags have been appropriately packed unless we start to hear new stuff out of camp.
And that's part of the fun is you get to make the talent conviction bets early, and then you make the news-based bets later.
Right.
I think the thing that's tricky about the Stowers thing, and I'm in a similar boat as you guys, I had a lot, is you do find yourself in these drafts where even though you fully acknowledge that the Stowers bet doesn't look as good as it did 2.5 months ago or whatever, you're like, man, I got these 2 dusty tight ends. I got Brenton Strange and TJ Hawkinson, and I'm going for a 3 or 4 tight end build. Sure would be nice to have a little late season upside in this room. Guess I'll just fucking click Eli Stowers again. And that's how you end up with 18% despite wanting to get it lower.
Yeah.
But that's where a guy like Raritan popping up is helpful. There's maybe some of the guys you can mix in. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take Eli Stowers. That'd be more fun to make fun of you guys drafting a 3rd string non-blocking tight end if I wasn't doing the same thing all year in round 13.
Could have just been taking T-Ferg the whole time, brother.
I have been. But no, I definitely agree with the concept of like the round 18 tight end board looks so much more fun than it used to. Like I've been defaulting to Evan Ingram all summer, which is
okay. Don't include that in the fun part.
No,
did you guys see the Albright tweet the other day about
fun.
Ingram?
I'm saying like Evan Ingram is so unfun, but I've been clicking by default because like I can't find anyone else who strikes me as remotely clickable if I need an 18th round tight end. Whereas now it's like I can dream on Mitchell Evans, I can dream on Eli Raritan, I can dream on Eric All. Like there's just other guys that I can get 2% of 7 different round 18 tight ends instead of 9% of Evan Ingram. Yes. What is the tweet?
Please, this is an intervention. Stop clicking Evan Ingram.
It was buried in the replies, but it was him replying to another Denver writer about Ingram who was saying, "Oh, I don't tell anyone, but I'm actually buying Ingram in this offense this year." And Albright replied saying, "I am too, and I was totally out on him last year." So that's literally all I got.
Saying my 10% Evan Ingram is looking sick.
It's like at this point, I would do anything to get a draftable 18th round player, to the point that one Benjamin Albright reply to another Denver Broncos beat writer was all I needed to start taking Ingram.
Well, here's the thing. My most drafted quarterback in Besselmania is Bo Nix. And if you're drafting Bo Nix on like as many teams as possible, it's just so easy to get to round 17 and 18 and be like, oh, Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram.
I'll take Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin over Evan Ingram there.
Hey, buddy, take it from me. Don't take it, Marvin Mims.
I haven't even clicked Evan Ingram because all I do is I get to round 18 of all my Bo Nix teams. I put Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram, Marvin Mims in the queue, and I exit my underdog app, and I just get who I get.
Real quick, because I'm going to have to head out in a few minutes, but I do want to promote next week, 2 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be doing a main event draft with Ron Stewart. Just talked to the people over at FFPC. It is up in the lobby. I just registered our team for it. If you guys want to draft against us and Ron Stewart, FFPC main event. That's Wednesday, August 12th. You can't miss it in the lobby. It literally says Ship Chasing live stream on it. You'll know exactly which one it is. We did one.
It has parentheses unk/chopped. Just if you're having trouble finding it.
It says this team comes preloaded with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Kenyon Sadiq, and Omar Cooper on it as well. So join us for that.
And
Jacob,
here we got 2 votes for Terrence Ferguson.
Oh, God. I mean, how can we? Did you set the Pico top on Terrence Ferg FFPC ADP during your Pros vs. Joes the other night with Show?
Pico top so far, Peter.
Yeah, we can beat that.
What is Terrence Ferguson's ADP going to be after the Australia game? Like the 5th round? Like, come on.
It's going to be. He bet we will not stop until he's the highest drafted Ferguson. Oh my God. I got him, Davis, by the way, in a BBM today at 188. Read it and weep.
Did you guys? I had my funniest tweet of the offseason today. I don't know if you guys saw this.
No, I didn't see.
It's a lot of contenders for that. So
I've been having a good offseason, but no, it was ETR. ETR moved him up to 172, and I was like, I'm gonna go look at their change. So I'm going to go look at their change log, and it said, after internal discussion, we have moved Terrence Ferguson up higher in the ranks. And I quote tweeted it, and I said, do we really have to change the fucking rankings because of Davis Maddock?
David, I want to see a change log for your ranks, and they all just say, after some internal thought, I moved Terrence Ferguson up another round.
The funniest part of your tweet wasn't even what you said. It was the fact that it admitted that you go into the ETR changelog and you command F Terrence Ferguson.
It was honestly, it was because I wanted to see where they had him and where Pat had him, because it has been impossible for me to get him in my rooms for the last like 3 or 4 days. And
Have
I
you
was
drafted any off stream?
Yeah, I mean slows.
Right.
I guess
why
I don't do
just why don't you just like for fun try like 2 fast drafts off stream and see where you get them?
It would be much more. I'm sure it would be much more normal. Yeah, it would be more normal. But it's like in one of my streamed rooms, his cost right now has got to be like in the 150s. It's insane.
That's really wild.
In my big dog, I did a big dog yesterday. He went in the 140s.
Man. And when are you doing any more of those soon?
Wait, in case, although, like, if you think Davis's streams are good value, I've never been more offended by anything in my life than yesterday. I announced on stream, I'm like, yeah, I just entered 50 eliminators slows and 50 puppy threes. And guess who's in fucking all of my slow puppy threes is Pat, and all of my eliminators is Davis. These guys
other way around.
I'm jumping
other way
in
around.
Oh, literally other way around. Right.
No, I'm in all the slow puppies. Oh, well,
whatever.
I'm batching. I'm entering eliminators, bro. Like, sorry.
Whatever it was.
Get them in. It's nothing to do with you. I'm also
it's just all I know is I announced this, and these guys are like, sweet. My odds are 1 in 11. I'm hopping in all the same ones.
I'll tell you what happened, Jacob. I was walking my dog yesterday, and I pull up my phone. I'm like, okay, I need to do some drafts while I'm walking. And I was like, do I have it in me right now to 10 table puppies while I'm walking my dog? And I said, you know what? I did 4 streams today. I have another stream left. I don't. So I just entered 150 slow puppy threes.
Nice. Well, I'm in 50 of those. So,
all right. I'm not getting. Hopefully, what happened last week when I had to leave for a Fantasy Life show, and then I came back, you guys were still going. But Davis, Pat has the controls to StreamYard. Davis has the controls to the slop. Feel free to finish the other ditches or the double downs or not. But I gotta dip right now, guys.
Okay.
Later. My ditch here was Christian Kirk, other than Stowers, who I just thought it'd be funny for you guys to know that I have 15% Christian Kirk.
Crane,
I saw that and I did a massive double take.
I just thought you guys would find that funny, so I put him in.
Crane, I'll tell you how funny it is.
That led you to 15% Christian Kirk.
You're betting against Pearsall. You're betting on Stribling. Stribling might be bad. Stribling and Pearsall are bad, Christian Kirk's actually pretty nice in the 18th round.
Okay.
But now that they have Debo, who I think is least like, Debo could certainly be washed, but I think like from a you're getting something perspective,
Yeah.
He has more overlap with what I imagine like a decent Christian Kirk season even looking like. So probably not going to work, but I feel like overall, being overweight, Stribling and Debo, I feel good about that. Kirk doesn't need to be a part of what I do going forward.
Fair enough.
15.
I talked about already in relation to Chase Brown, so that was kind of like a.
It was so jarring to me to see it that it didn't even register until I was making this in Claude. Like when I was putting all of our stuff in, I was like, "Oh, Kirk, blah 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 blah." Until I pulled up the page to look through and make sure nothing was broken, I didn't even register that you had 15% Christian Kirk. Like it fully passed through my brain.
One of the things Pat's been saying all offseason is like whenever you throw like a late round running back, and he's always like, "Oh, I'm not taking him. I'm doing other stuff." And like in the back of my mind, I've always been like, "What is the other stuff that Pat's up to?" And like today, I learned it's Eli Stowers and Christian Kirk comprise 30% of the other stuff. So
the thing is like, I never claimed the other stuff was fun or sexy. It's just like you're doing things that you're kind of like, okay, when we get to the end of the season with Stowers, is he live to matter at tight end? I still think he is. It's not a position I'm trying to add to, especially an underdog. And then Kirk is more like maybe by the end of the season, but he could have helped me like 2 or 3 times to advance out of the pod and not be a total zero. So I also don't feel like I need to add to that, but it's like, yeah, I know I'm not swinging for these massive home runs when I do like a Christian Kirk style pick, but I have him like with Stribling a little bit back when they were both completely free. Stribling obviously not anymore, but it's just like, yeah, one of these guys is going to do some stuff and it's not a zero. And maybe they both do some stuff, frankly. So it's just sort of that we're in a period where we don't have a ton of information in June or in May. And so, yeah, I took some Kirk.
Makes sense.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our next list? Yeah. All right. These are our double downs. Well, here, let's reveal Pete's while he's not here. He's doubling down on Jeremy and doubling down on Sadiq.
Doubling down on Sadiq is interesting with the news.
He said he was moving off that.
He said he wasn't.
I thought he had a sub.
Oh, yeah, he did. He texted us this morning and he was like, take that one off.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. But he didn't say who. He said, I need to retract Sadiq after today. But he never said anyone.
He retracted it by leaving the show, so I guess.
Okay. All right. So never mind. Pete is not doubling down.
Bernard. I stand with you, Pete.
I'm doubling down.
I was going to say you're looking at the.
We're going to be racing to the podium.
I got to be honest, guys. I think you're off your fucking. I think you're out of your skis on this shit. I really do.
On Bernard,
why? He goes at pick 194, and he's a starting 11 personnel player.
Tell me why
50 draft capital. Who's like not even that terrible of a prospect.
Tell me why I want him over Freiermuth, and I will listen to you with an open mind.
Well, I mean, first of all, by the time you get in round 17, I feel like I'm rarely actually making that choice because I probably either need a receiver or I need a tight end. So I don't know that
I'm pretty frequently taking
very often.
I'm pretty frequently taking Rodgers before and then taking one of those two guys, like relatively
right.
often.
But
I do that too. Yeah,
I do that a lot too. I just mean like positionally, I feel like I usually like either need the receiver or I need the tight end. But if both worked. I prefer Bernard just because I think that, Freiermuth I think is actually just like pretty insecure in his role. Mike McCarthy has historically used a really high rate of 11 personnel. I think a lot of people are mapping on a lot of the Steelers' tendencies from last year onto this year, despite they couldn't have had a more drastic change in coaching. So part of that is me being a little lower on the running backs. I think the running back target share is going to come way down from where it was last year. I think the tight end target share is going to come down. Part of that's from Jonnu Smith just leaving. But I think that we're going to see fewer multi-tight end sets. And I think that Darnell Washington is their starting 11 personnel tight end. So I think that it's a real split, and I don't know that it's a split bullish, as in we're going to live in 12. I think it could be a split bearish where Washington is the primary rundown 11 tight end. Freiermuth is the primary 11 in like comeback mode. He's playing the 2-minute drills. He's playing third downs. And then, they'll both play sometimes, but not that much. And I think Bernard could have, legitimately could just have higher route participation than Pat Freiermuth if they're a base 11 team, which is what I think that they probably will be. And then you get, they get the mystery box. Like, we know who Freiermuth is, and he's mid. He's a totally viable round 17, round 18 tight end, but I don't think he's that exciting. And Bernard could be anything. I think he has a fantasy-friendly profile, in terms of he's very easily their best yards after catch receiver. I think he'll be the guy that they get the ball to on screens and sweeps and stuff like that. And he's like a real receiver. I don't think he's a great prospect, but not a terrible one, and he's got good draft capital. So I think we're getting like a pretty freebie bet on like just pure upside for a guy who at worst is going to be like a 60% route share wide receiver 3.
All right. So my primary worry would be that in terms of the area of the field that you would generally use a player of this archetype, that Michael Pittman Jr. would be targeted in that area of the field more often, even if it's not out of the slot, right? Even if Jeremy is indeed the slot wide receiver and Michael Pittman Jr. is playing a different position, that just in terms of there's only so many guys who can run a route for 7 yards.
That's where 100% of the targets will be in this offense.
Right. So, okay. You know what? That's true. That's true.
like everyone better get ready to learn the 4 to 8 yard ADOT.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Targets. You know what? That actually is a good point. One that I had not pondered. And I mean, it's actually kind of why I am so bearish on DK Metcalf, despite like kind of liking to draft the Steelers. Maybe I have just interpreted the tight end situation differently, just thinking that there's more.
Most people are interpreting it like you. Like, I listen to That's Fair, and Sam's always talking about how he thinks they're going to be base 12. There's a lot of people. Gretsch thinks they're going to be base 12. I'm like on an island with this.
I think they're going to be base 11. I agree with you. I take some Freiermuth, and I take Washington too, but I think both of those guys have potential to play clearly ahead of the other guy. So like I'm even with the field on Freiermuth. And Darnell Washington, at like 7%. So I'm taking both guys. Darnell Washington doesn't even get drafted all the time. So I'm in a Kolar way, I'm sort of overweight there, but I don't really believe that they're going to play out of 12. We're hearing a lot about Roman Wilson playing in 11, which I think is a little, obviously negative for Bernard, but it also does tell you they're playing with a slot wide receiver a lot, which is good for Bernard. I also don't mind getting to bet against Michael Pittman. I mean, Michael Pittman was productive for the Colts, but not usually especially efficient. Back in 2023, he got over 2 yards per out run for the one and only time. He dropped down to 1.68, dropped down to 1.46 last year in an offense that at times was really cooking. And they, Tyler Warren was a bigger part of things. And then they get rid of him, right? They choose Alec Pierce.
Yeah.
He goes to Pittsburgh.
And they didn't need to. That's a critical thing. They didn't need to. I posted this yesterday on Twitter. It's why I'm so confident that Downs is going to be in 2 wide receiver sets, even if they sign Keenan. Is like, they have $31 million in cap space today. They could have just kept Michael Pittman. They didn't get anything for him. They moved up from the 7th to the 6th. Like, they simply didn't want Michael Pittman on their team anymore. They effectively released him for nothing, which is kind of a questionable decision. But it seemed like a clear intention from them to, we want to get Downs more routes. We want to get Pierce more opportunities to run a wider variety of routes. That's the guys we're choosing. We're not choosing Pittman. So I agree. I think the Colts think he's kind of cooked.
Yeah, I mean, he's 29 years old. His efficiency has declined precipitously over 2 seasons. And his team moved on from him when they didn't need to. And then the team that signs him drafts a 2nd-round wide receiver. Like, this guy is not a huge impediment to a good player. I don't know if Bernard is good. He might not be good, but I'm getting to make a bet that's like very tilted to the upside in the final rounds of drafts. This is we know that 2nd-round draft capital really shouldn't be in this range unless we're getting the kind of reports we got on Jack Besh last year that, it's like, yeah, this dude's not going to be anything. But, like Jaden Higgins would have been a great pick if we got him in the 185
in the
range.
180s. Yeah.
In the 190. I mean, like 190, 194 is the ADP now. Like, that's just way too cheap for a guy who's very likely to get opportunity this season. And by the way, he's had like a decent camp. No one's talking about him being buried. He's playing with the ones. He's not ahead of Wilson. Wilson looks to be ahead of him. But I think in the sense that we see both of them week one. And like that can, like, if he's Jaden Reed, oh my God. You know, like we don't need, I'm not like, what's the bar? Like, I don't even need him to ascend to like a Rashi Rice sort of thing. Like, be the number 2 target by the end of the year. And I'm like absolutely smashing. Be the number 3 target. And he was a good pick. Like, you know, I think the price here just makes this one real easy. We've seen many busts pay off at this price. You know, Chase Claypool being the previous Steelers second round pick who people overlooked because it was too crowded, and then he crushed and then was a bust. But I don't care. I need him to produce as a rookie, and I think he's set up pretty well to beat this ADP.
To be clear, I do take him like at a good bit. I think I have like 6, 7, 8% or whatever, purely out of like my rope protection. For like, it's the same reason I take Clark. It's like, man, imagine Sack just like fucking Washington generaling me. Like, I don't want to live in that reality. So I'm happy. Frankly, Jeremy would have been a candidate for my cave list where I don't really see it. I think he's like a totally fine prospect. I'm probably a little bit higher on Pittman, where like Pittman's efficiency metrics will probably never be that good as yards per route run outside
I'm
of
fine
the one,
with Pittman. I'm fine with every single Steeler. I'm a little low on the running backs because I think that the running back target share is going to come way down, but I don't think they're terrible picks. But all 3 Steelers receivers I like at cost.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Pittman, but I think if you're, you know, in a spot where you need a receiver, he can make some sense. I do take some Metcalf. I think I'm underweight, but not like hugely. One way to talk about this type of pick is like when you're doing best ball drafts and you get to like the 16th, 17th, 18th round, you're kind of like preloading your waivers. Like, who are you likely to eventually bid on in waivers? And like Jeremy Bernard strikes me as a guy who probably hits waivers, but is also someone I think we're picking up in FFPC main event leagues. We're going to be bidding on, I think we bid more than $100, like maybe 150, $200 to get Jeremy Bernard on our team at some point in these FFPC mains. You know, even if maybe he isn't even cut in the first place, but that's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, we can talk about him running behind Wilson or running some with the twos. Like, we see this stuff all the time with rookie wide receivers. It's not like he's buried or hasn't made plays. He also is mixing in with the ones. That's the thing. Like, this is very on track for a guy to matter at some point in his rookie season. And he's being priced like draft capital just straight up doesn't matter. Like, that would be the only way this price makes sense, is like, we just don't really see a big correlation between draft capital and year one opportunity. But we do. We see a really big correlation between those two things. So yeah, that's where I think I mean, he's a very obvious pick, even with the early season stuff looking kind of murky. I still think he's just a jam in the final rounds.
And I'll make the opposite case. Like, one of the reasons why I've been lower on Stribling is I'm more inclined to focus on at least my perceived differences among mediocre to bad prospects. And I do want to highlight that I think that Bernard is firmly a mediocre prospect, complimentary.
Yeah.
He's definitely not like a great prospect, but I agree with this, that I think he has been lumped in by a lot of people as like a bad prospect. And I think he, like, I don't have like a specific model that pushes like the over under drafted at draft position, but if I did, I'd probably say slightly over. But he's like a legitimately credible day 2 prospect. He's like what I would expect your average day 2 prospect or even round 2 prospect to be at wide receiver these days, which, like, I don't think he was a value there or that he's like some underrated prospect, but I think he's fine. I think he can probably play in the NFL. So I don't view him as like some crazy reach that I'm betting only on the draft capital. I think there's actually something there. He was productive-ish at multiple Power 5 schools. He had elite teammate competition everywhere he went. He flashes a lot as a ball in hand guy. So I think he's got some real skills.
Yeah, a couple comments. Jeremy Bernard is the Jalen Polk Memorial pick. I mean, Polk was never this cheap. Like
Yeah.
the thing
Polk
is,
was like a 11, 12
he was
round
an 11,
pick.
12. Yeah, and that's I think a big difference between the two. Obviously, he could bust and be like, I don't think he'll retire in 2028 or whatever, but I think he could be nothing. But it's like a bet that is tilted to the upside. Then the other one was so kind of like the cuff running backs you don't take, I assume, with the idea that you're going to pick these guys up on waivers. I mean, I think that's another key element here is that the draft capital gives me high confidence that I think we'll be picking this guy up at some point. It doesn't mean that I think we're going to pay like $500 or $600 for him the way you might for a handcuff running back. But I don't know which guy that is. And in some cases, I might be drafting a guy and then it's his teammate that actually I spend $500 or $600 on, because it turns out when the starter goes down, the other guy gets the opportunity, not the guy I was drafting. So it's the confidence that he is going to matter at some point. Vinegar and Salted Fries says he's a get on base prospect, which I think sums it up well.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from Jeremy. Karain, you're bailing on Lemon. I'm assuming as a result of the hamstring and just moving him down a little bit.
No, this is
a double down. Okay, so you're gonna keep slurping. What, like, are you gonna be a firewall, like keeping him at the same spot, or just taking him at the new rank?
Well, this is I put this in because I've actually been in spots since we lowered Lemon, and we did lower Lemon on the hamstring stuff, as I mentioned. I'm trying to get a little more Smith as a result of it too. But putting in stuff I think is very reasonable for Lemon. We're, I think, going to be slurping the Dipperino because he is falling now, and getting him in the end of the 7th on underdog, he pops. So yeah, I think I'm going to be taking more Mekhi Lemon. Obviously, this is a little bit dependent on the type of news we get here in the next few days and weeks, but for now, I think Mekhi Lemon should go a little bit lower than where we had, but then the market's dropping him from a price I already thought was too low. So, we're gonna be continuing to scoop Mekhi Lemon unless this hamstring stuff gets worse.
Big agree with Pat. I don't have quite that much Lemon, but I'm definitely. Let me pull up my exposure. Where are we at on Lemon? I'm at 17%, so very overweight, and I'll move him down. There's no chance I'm moving him down more than the market is. So yeah, I'll be riding this one out with you, I'm sure.
Trey McBride is a guy that I can't. This is the reason why I'm not able to fully cave on Smith and just like hammer him in that middle of the 3rd round. Like, you're getting Trey McBride now in the middle of the 3rd. I don't like. I was just this morning trying to think like if I've ever seen anything like this, where you had Trey McBride be the clear tight end 1, and then like, okay, he gets flipped by Bowers. Like, that makes sense. I'm for that, but that's alone like a little unusual. And then we just like let him slip to the middle of the 3rd. This is a dude who's in his prime. He's been awesome. Trey McBride pops as much as anyone when you watch him. Like, there's no like, wow, he's a scam. Like, he's a gam. I know obviously that it's the Cardinals offense and people are getting a little nervous about that, but the whole Brissett thing has resolved. We're going to get, somewhat competent quarterback play probably from Brissett or Gardner Minshew or maybe Beck. I mean, they have 3 outs to like someone who can not trip over their own shoelaces. And really, it's just like McBride's a baller. He just crushed, and we're taking him in the middle of the 3rd. I'm happy to do it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, McBride is a tough one. I mean, I just wrote up the Cardinals. I think that he is a pretty reasonable pick at cost. I'm not quite as bullish. Can the chat let me know, is the mic fine? I don't know why it got bad all of a sudden, but I think I might have just been standing. I might have just sat back in my chair. Anyways, McBride, I mean, it's really hard for me to be out on any of them or any of the top tight ends, because I do think McBride is a pretty nice value at cost, I just feel so much more emphatic about the other two top tight ends, and I don't want to build 100% of my teams with the top 3 tight ends on them. So then it's just like, well, which one do I want to fade? Like, do I want to fade Brock Bowers with literally no one around him on a team and an offensive coordinator I have a lot of confidence in, and a quarterback that has more upside, and I can envision that 30% target share season for Brock Bowers. Harder to envision for McBride. Even last year, like, I expect his per route numbers will look better this year than they did last year because he ran so many routes. But like his targets per route run have never gotten to that high of like the high 20s, and he's added target competition. Like, Marvin Harrison was out for a lot portion of last year. I'm still a pretty big believer in him. Michael Wilson has been a better player recently than he was in previous years. They just added a superstar running back who I expect to catch a ton of passes, and I'm going to talk about next. So it's like I'm probably getting like a 22%, 23% targets per run. I feel like at most on an offense that I think will be quarterbacked by Carson Beck in the money weeks. Like, I love McBride, but I just don't like that profile better than I like the profile of the tight end that goes a full round behind him, which is the reason why I can't ever get in on him.
Yeah. No, I know you like Loveland a lot more than I do, but part of my thinking with McBride is like, it is extremely difficult to be the type of talent that we need to be an elite fantasy producer at tight end. And if you show me that you are that guy, which McBride has done very clearly, then he had 163 targets last year. Like, he is clearly one of the dudes who can play traditional tight end and earn targets like a wide receiver. I have hopes for Loveland that way. I'm less confident as far as actually taking where he goes, but like, that would be really fun. I could totally see it. I think Warren has that potential as well, but like, also lots of guys who have the potential to get there never do. And so I just really value McBride showing me that he is one of these kind of unicorn players at the tight end position who has elite receiver skills, as well as being able to play like traditional inline tight end. I think a creative staff can, make use of this skill set, and he can be the clear number one ahead of these 2 wide receivers, as he has been the last few years.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, I've not taken 0, and it's like I want to take more because I often get there. I'm like, oh, this is just clearly the best player available. So it's really about balancing the other exposures. So that's why I'll probably never get to 17. But like, I do think, especially as he's sliding, and I think he's going to keep sliding more because I'm finding in slow drafts, like when you get like in the slow puppy or some of these, I've been getting them at like pick 34, pick 35 at times. And sometimes those are like market leading drafts. And so at that point, like, he's not even really going, arguably at this point already, now that he's gotten past Neighbors and Rice and Pickens and Love, like, there's arguably not a major opportunity cost difference between
there really isn't. No.
So now I just prefer Loveland, but like, I don't prefer him by that high of a margin. So at the same opportunity cost, I'd probably rather be like slightly more Loveland than McBride, but not so much more, because I do think that the ADP difference is a lot bigger than the actual opportunity cost difference between them.
I think it was way less of him being a unicorn and just more of him having a unicorn season as a comment. And this is where I think I'm happy to bet against
he's amazing.
The market, because
he's absolutely amazing.
He was getting, so he had 2.03 yards per route run and 2.14 yards per route run in 2023 and 2024, his first 2 years as a full-time starter all season. And he then drops to 1.78 last year, but he scores 11 touchdowns instead of 3 and then 2. So like, yeah, I mean, this was sort of like what he had been flashing, and then, but he couldn't score touchdowns. Remember, he just couldn't score touchdowns. Yeah. And it turns out he can score touchdowns. So he's an absolute fantasy monster. Like, okay, well, I think he can probably score efficiently as well, because he did that for 2 seasons before. He wasn't amazingly efficient. I understand the offense and everything, and him falling to the 2-3 turn, I felt like made some sense. But middle of the third he's a jam there. Let's do these last two because I actually have to run in 5 minutes.
All right. Not giving up. No surrender. Burden's actually falling a little bit in ADP. I guess JCM is actually rising a little bit. I'm happy
to be rising more.
I'm happy to take him.
He should reflip. He should reflip White.
I think he probably should.
Then I can just go back to what I was doing. I mean, that was originally when this dropped. JCM was going ahead of White, and I liked both, but I was taking more White. And then since the flip, I've taken more JCM. And I think they should flip. The reporting's been really positive on JCM. It hasn't been bad for White, but it's been more positive on JCM, I think, especially Standigs. So yeah, I think they deserve to. I think they deserve to reflip, and I think that they remain both really good value picks. And I think that the case that it should be one of these two or both has only gotten stronger. Like, there's no buzz on McNichols or Ford or any of that shit. Like,
there actually is a little buzz on McNichols, but not in a. He's like gonna play. Yeah. It's really? Buzz that's actually good for the other two because it means there's not buzz on Katron.
Okay,
buzz is McNichols is playing a lot more than I thought.
I can't say I've heard the McNichols buzz, but my apologies to the McNichols hive. But I feel like mostly what I've heard is it's White and JCM are the two guys, and I guess I just don't understand. Like, if that's true and those are the two guys, they should be going ahead of Rico and Jalen Warren.
Yeah, I honestly don't even disagree.
This is a way better offense.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, like, is it those two guys, and that means it's gonna be those two guys? You know what I mean? Like, if it was just those two guys, then sure.
I'm saying if those are the two guys. So, like, how much is the specter of Katron Allen worth in collective
less
ADP?
and less.
Because it better be worth a lot. Because right now, like, Rico and Warren go round 7 and 8. These guys go round 10. So is Katron Allen worth like 5 rounds of ADP difference? You know, like, I mean,
this was the report
the Bucks. The Bucks have a third guy, and we take their running backs in round 5 and round 9. So, and they have a third guy who also is probably maybe a little bit less upside than Katron Allen, but he has a third guy who is in the mix, and we're comfortable taking them round 5 and round 9. These guys in round 10, I think the Commanders have a better offense than the Bucks.
JCM's the guy that because I wrote him up. I just had an article come out this morning, and I wrote up JCM and feeling like, you know, I'm underweight JCM, but as I wrote it up, I'm like, I just haven't known how to play this. Because my thing on JCM is I think he's very fragile. Like, I think he could just have his job straight up taken by Katron Allen over the course of the year. And he's already going to be in a committee with Rachaad White probably. And also maybe not. Maybe Rachaad White's just the starter. So he's like fragile in a couple different ways. But when you look for the upside of like who could be the guy here who really matters, I do think it's Bill. Like he was actually pretty efficient last year. He's explosive. They're talking about using him more as a receiver. If they give him the opportunity and he seizes it, like, yeah, he can crush this ADP. It just has made me nervous where before training camp, I'm like, where do they stand on Katron Allen? That so far, Allen has been quiet. The report of McNichols was that he continued to receive a surprising amount of work and appears to have a strong hold on a roster spot, which was from August 2nd. Josh Taylor had that. So, but I'm not saying that's bearish for Bill. I think if he's in a split, like if it's the 3 active running backs in week 1 are JCM, Rachaad White, and Jeremy McNichols, that's pretty bullish for JCM as kind of the clear, you know, runner with real juice.
It's super bullish. Agreed. I mean, he gets the cheat of playing with Jaden Daniels, which is absolutely massive. Like to me, in this environment where running back points have been priced up so much, and we are kind of more happy buying dead zone profiles higher than we have in years past. I mean, what's the difference between Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and the year Jordan Howard was a 2nd round pick? You know what I'm saying? And the reports are like Ben Standig has been the best on this, but he's been like, hey man, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, they think he is the one who is best to put on the field and not give away whether they are doing run or pass.
That would be huge.
That was a
for them.
fascinating report, because my case for Rachaad White, which I'm not fully abandoning, has been based on the exact same logic with the opposite conclusion, which is that obviously JCM's a better runner, but is the gap in rushing talent enough that that it would warrant not just keeping White out there all the time because he's not going to give away what they're doing. If they view it the other way and they're like, we actually can make JCM a functional enough receiver or pass protector that then he's the guy that we want in all situations, like, awesome. And I mean, what I would again say is, if their goal as a team is to find a guy that they want to rely on as a workhorse in all situations, then one of these guys is one of the 5 best picks on the board. And I think you should just be willing to eat a loss on one of them in the event that you get a massive win on the other one. Like, that's bullish to me. Like, it's way bullish. It's very exciting to me that they have reporters saying this is what we would want, not we want to split this backfield 3 ways.
Yeah. No, I think more and more.
I'll happily take 20% of both of these guys and have one of those positions be bad if the other one is a 75% workhorse on the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I just think there's lots of outcomes where no one is that, and Bill's inability to dust Chris Rodriguez would be evidence that might be difficult for him to do. I think Katron Allen probably can play as like an early down banger, and so if Bill is kind of inconsistent and not someone they like can really lean on in short yardage and stuff, that will hurt, because Rachaad White was also very good in short yardage and has been used a bit at the goal line. So there's just ways where like it's a gross committee, and the answer is actually none of these guys are smashes. I am coming around to the idea that Bill is the upside play.
I think if it's a gross committee, that all of them are still good picks. I think I have like a pretty massive disagreement with the market on what the
give me JCM over the Carolina guys. How's that for a spicy one?
That's spicy.
Give me the Washington backfield over the fucking Panthers backfield by a mile. Why are we drafting 2 Panthers backs before 1 Washington running back? I don't get the pricing on this backfield. The pricing on this backfield to me implies that there's a like certainty that it will be 3 or 4 guys involved that I don't understand. I think it's possible. I think it's less likely that there's going to be 3 guys. And I'm also really overweight Katron. Like, I think this whole backfield is egregiously underpriced.
Yeah.
I was playing it through Katron for a while, and I think I'm done with that for now. And I'd like to start playing it through Bill. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. I got to go hop on another stream as well. So let's get out of here.
All right. Good stuff. As Pete mentioned, next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be drafting in the main event. If you want to draft against us, please jump in. Check out the article I have over at Legendary Upside. I just got that out this morning on the sophomore running backs. Pretty fun article. Hope you enjoy that. Anything you guys want to plug before we get out of here?
No, I'm about to go. I'm about to go stream a big eliminator with one Mr. Chess Liam. Respect my goat. Respect my goat.
Let me know when that kicks off. I will
right now. So
all right,
I'll see you in those streets.
I will get in that lobby certainly then. And then after I do that, I'll update my rankings with all the dig stuff. And yeah. All right. See you guys soon.
Peace.